sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to my channel. Hope you are great. Disclaimer: this video reflects my personal opinions and comment, or it is not intended to harass, harm, or defame any individual. Content is for discussions and educational purposes. So I am seeing videos on white supremacy and the things that white people, like who made white people these superior ones. But then I am finding out that white supremacy is white inferiority, and this is what it has been, because I have never seen someone that is superior coming out to tell you that he is superior. It must really be inferiority complex that will make somebody to come out to tell you that he or she is superior to you. Now somebody is asking if they could see the people that are white people's PR, because on God, those people are really doing, I don't even know what to say. But at this point in time, tell me how a group of people who did so many heinous things and who did Lynn and Shane could actually come out to tell you that they are superior and all that. And a lot of people are buying into it. The fact that a white supremacy, or I don't even know what to call it, a lot of people are trying to even be on the part of the oppressor, like the part of the people that are oppressing people. Because tell me how you want me that is being oppressed to stand with the oppressor when I am supposed to be fighting to get my way out and all that. And then they turn around to tell you that they don't see color, they are colorblind, when in real life, Janet, you can see me. Janet, you are not colorblind. Let's get into it.
White supremacy is white inferiority, and it always has been. I've said this before, but you don't enslave a race of people and have them build a country because you view them as less than or weaker than or inferior. I would argue that it's quite literally the opposite. And then I think of the slave trade and how slaves had their bodies literally inspected and basically marveled at in order for the slaves to build this country. And it also reminds me of the movie Get Out, where all those people are at the house and they're basically picking out which black person they want to take over and like inspecting the body and talking about the physical attributes of black people and all of these things. It's like, I quite literally don't believe this whole thing about they made slaves build this country because they viewed them as less than and not as powerful and all of these things. I feel like it's quite literally the opposite. And I feel like the reason why today that narrative is still talked about and spread by racist people today is because quite literally it's them being in fear of black people. It's them actually being in fear that if black people are fully treated the same as everyone else, and everyone is actually treated equally, and everyone has the same rights and everything's literally equal all across every single field, then I feel like their fear is that black people would then treat white people like how white people's ancestors, which would be slave owners, treated black people's ancestors, which would be the slaves. And so I feel like that's why there's this continuation of the racism and this idea of white supremacy, because it's actually white inferiority. And that's literally how it started. But now they're at the point where literally if they acknowledge everything that's ever gone on because of white supremacy or white inferiority, then I feel like they have this fear that black people will retaliate and literally treat white people how white people treated slaves. Literally the ancestors of black people. And again, going back to my main point, you don't enslave a race of people and have them literally build an entire country because you view them as weak or inferior. Like, that never made sense. But it's just crazy because quite literally this whole idea of white supremacy is literally the same thing as white inferiority. When you really look at it and break everything down, it's the same thing.
I genuinely want to meet the PR team for white people, because how did this race of people that literally hang people from trees like a piñata and then gather around with their kids and family like it's somebody's cumpleaños convince you that black people are the ones that are dangerous? How did this race of people that literally needed free labor to get anything done, and then when black people finally stopped working for free, then convinced you that black people are the ones that are lazy? How did this race of people that burn in the sun convince you that their skin color is more superior than everyone else's? Because I think Mother Nature would disagree. How did this race of people that literally get jobs from knowing people in the schools that they went to and not even being qualified convince you that any person of color that is within a position that they feel like they should be in is a DEI hire and not qualified enough? How did this race of people that pew-pew schools and that do mass pew-pews convince you that the Middle East is the real terrorists? How did this race of people that when they don't get what they want, they throw a little temper tantrum and call the police, convince you that they are suited to run anything and are just the sweetest and most polite people in the world? I can go on and on and on and on, but all I know is that Kris Jenner works hard, but white people's PR team, they work harder, boo. Harder. Genuinely want to meet the PR team for white people, because how did this race of people that literally hang people from trees like a piñata and then gather around with their kids and family like it's somebody's cumpleaños convince you that black people are the ones that are dangerous?
So, if you could do me one favor, read this book. It's called Racism Without Racists: Colorblind Racism and the Persistence of Racial Inequality in the United States by Eduardo Bonilla Silva. This book talks about how white people are able to navigate society and basically be covertly racist, right? Without being explicit, right? With how they are and how they feel towards black people. So in the book, Bonilla Silva talks about 4 different kinds of colorblind racism. He talks about naturalization of racism. He talks about the minimization of racism. He talks about white liberalism, and he also talks about cultural racism. In your video, you're discussing cultural racism. You're wondering, how can white people do all these heinous things in the past to black people and convince the world that black people are dangerous? It is due to the fact of color blind racism, particularly cultural racism. So cultural racism is basically like a negative stereotype towards black people, right? So, for example, people in society automatically assume that black people are quote-unquote dangerous. Black people are quote-unquote lazy, right? Because we don't want to get up and do work. Black people are quote-unquote ghetto because we act a certain kind of way, right? That's the negative stereotype people label on black people. Those negative stereotypes stem from white people who throughout the history have always been categorizing or labeling black people a certain kind of way because they thought that black people are obviously not people who deserve to be treated with some human decency. All that to say is that white people are not explicitly racist anymore. They're not gonna call you the N-word. They're not gonna say racial slurs to you. Now they might, right? I'm not saying that they aren't, right? But they are very cautious about what they say now because obviously we have the internet and we also are in the era where people are going to lose their job or lose their livelihood if they do something ignorant, right? Therefore, colorblind racism comes into play now, right? Because now people are being strategic on how they want to maneuver, how they want to deal with black people in society. They're not going to, again, say nasty, rude, or racial things, racial slurs to you. They're going to act on that behavior by being covert about how they feel or how they think about black people. I hope I was able to explain everything properly to you. Please get this book. It is a really, really good book. I highly recommend it. It'll literally tell you about why white people act the way they do now in society and what the future entails for black people living in the United States and how black people may be perceived.
I genuinely wish that more people understood that the government doesn't give a fuck if you are black, if you're white, or a part of the LMNOP community. They care about money and power. Like, literally, the concept of being white did not come until poor white people or poor black people came together to defend the lack of protections of Native Americans. Sorry to break it to you white people, but you're not as special as you thought. You're just a pawn. After that, they quickly found out that they're going to need to do some dividing. And that's exactly why our government's focus so heavily on our differences versus our similarities, because we have a lot more similarities than we have differences. Because if you really knew how similar we were, you may just have a little bit more empathy. Why do you think they're trying to make traveling a lot harder to do now? Because if you go to these other countries around the world, you're going to come back with a little bit more empathy, pissed, or both. Even with our differences, we should be embracing each other's differences, learning from each other's differences. Because if this world was just full of the same people, it would be boring as fuck. But wait, white people, let me know how it is, because y'all seem to like that. Because I be seeing the girls and the guys walking down the street all the time with the same exact shirt, same exact pants, same exact hairstyle. You might just get a different color or something, but it's all the same style. That shit's boring. And I be trying so hard to not bust out loud. If you don't know what the Bacon's Rebellion of 1676 is, go look it up, because I'm not here to give you a history lesson. But just know, anytime you are judging someone, being racist, homophobic, any of that bullshit that's not uniting, just know that you are making the rich richer and you're making yourself poorer.
White people, we're going to go over facts. It is a fact that black people had to teach white people how to wash their ass. These are facts. It is also a fact that white people needed black people to clean their houses. So if two of those things are true, stay with me. If two of those things are true, then why are black people looked at as unclean? Would you ever in your entire life with sense have somebody dirty in charge of making sure that your things are clean? No. Which makes me, when I sit down and think about it, obviously, I'm going to get on to Google and research what is going on. And what I found out is, that is whiteness, the lie. The good old switcheroo, the bait and switch, that is what whiteness is. The ability to perpetuate a narrative that with all the evidence that says quite the contrary, you still get to be in charge of perpetuating the narrative. So then I asked myself why, and of course again I got on the Google. And that's what people who are afraid of being found out do. They're very loud, right? When they try to say that they hung a man, boy, woman, child from a tree because they were violent savages and they stood in front of that same tree smiling and taking pictures, they will be found out. You see, you have to tell a narrative. You have to spin a narrative and tell a lie for people to believe that. Because in all actuality, someone with sense who doesn't hate themselves would say, how are they violent when you're the one hanging them up from a tree and smiling about it? That's sinister. But see, whiteness don't work on logic. It works on spinning a narrative. So the next time you hear somebody say, black people are violent, black people are unclean, black people don't know community, you need to get on the Google and realize who are those true people. Everything that they say about us is about them. Every lie that they speak from their mouth is because that is their truth. It has nothing to do with black people, never had anything to do with black people, but more so the insecurity of how much they hate themselves and how much they hate us for not hating ourselves, how much they have to sit and seethe and suck their teeth when they look at us. And we have such an uneven playing field, most educated group. We have such an uneven playing field. Song, dance, style, tradition, new language, and culture. But the playing field is uneven. You would sit down and think to yourself, if I am less than, then there needs to be no interference. Inner cities wouldn't exist, projects wouldn't exist, 1994 crime bill and 93 crime bill would not exist. None of that would exist if the lie that they keep spinning was the actual truth. Sit down and think to yourself why. And once you find out the true reason, you don't give a fuck no more. You let them people spin their own narratives. Remember, when it was time for them to find entertainment, they put their own people inside of coliseums with the lion. This is what I'm saying. Get on the Google. That is what they find entertaining. Violence, not song, not dance, not creativity. Violence. That's their game. Let them do that amongst themselves. If you think about it, they do. When they get a little bored, they might come on the other side. And that's the problem. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to me too. I'm Danielle to you. The link to my podcast is in my bio.
European colonialism, imperialism, and racial superiority ideology, i.e. the delusion of white supremacy, are attempted vehicle strategies and methods of destiny swapping of colonial powers against black and brown communities, socially, historically, culturally, geographically, and politically. In fact, the delusion of white supremacy operates identical to the psychological projection of every accusation is a projection because systemic whiteness accuses black and brown communities of its own shortcomings. And I'll give a list of examples. There is the overarching accusation that black and brown communities are violent, savage, and barbaric, when history has shown us that the most violent, savage, and barbaric group of people on the planet are white colonizers and what they have done to black and brown communities across the globe. There's an accusation that black and brown communities are unclean and have improper societies, when pre-colonialism black and brown societies were rather developed and complex and were clean and experienced destabilization by way of colonizers bringing diseases from Europe. There's this idea that black and brown people are less educated than white people, when here in the US, the demographic of most educated adults is black women, and the demographic of least educated adults who have the lowest literacy are US born adult white men, according to the National Center of Education Statistics 2024. There's also micro level social attitudes and ideas that are reinforced and reinforce stereotypes of black and brown people. For example, the idea that black women are welfare queens, when historically white women have been the overwhelming recipient of all social welfare in the United States. The only way that the delusion of white supremacy continues to work is by our own belief of these destiny swapping psychological projections, because again, white supremacy accuses black and brown communities of its own shortcomings, which is why we should not be listening to or internalizing these projections, because they are not reflective of our history, of our people, or of our.
I generally want to meet the PR team for white people, because how did this race of people that literally have stolen everything they got, from land to money to culture to technology to people, convince you that black people are the ones that are thieves? Because if they can steal thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, I'm pretty sure your water bottles are definitely up for grab. How did this race of people that think going out into the streets and chanting "Fee, fi, fo, fum, Trump ain't for us" is actually going to do something and convince you that black people can't actually come together to make real change, where we've had multiple successful boycotts, including one that lasted 381 days, that sent the city of Montgomery into a frenzy that actually got laws implemented? How did this same race of people that have stolen every idea from black people convince you that black people don't know how to do nothing, and we just a waste of space? We just here doing nothing. How did the same race of people that glamorize a man being murdered and hung on a cross as a symbol for their religion convince you that Christianity is the best and the only religion out there necessary? I can go on and on and on and on, but all I know is that PR team, they need a raise. They need a raise, because this is a lot of controversy, a lot that they cleaning up.
White people participate in white supremacy and racism every single day, just by the fact that our skin color is default and systematically put above black and brown people. White people literally created the idea and the differences of race, and then put themselves on top while doing it. So yes, unless you are actively working on your anti-racism, and that means calling out your white friends for doing some weird-ass shit, it means looking inside yourself and thinking, why do I have these unspoken biases? Addressing them, bringing them to light, acknowledging them, and then dismantling them. It's not enough to not be racist. You have to decenter your whiteness. I do not consider myself white. I consider myself European and Roman. I do not identify with whiteness. I identify with the origins that which I am born from. And if this pisses you off, listen to BIPOC people.
Let's get real. Whiteness is not just a skin color. It's a system, a structure, and it's a way of organizing society that has caused unimaginable harm for centuries. Whiteness is why European settlers felt entitled to discover land that indigenous people had lived on for millennia. Whiteness is why enslavers claimed humans as property. Whiteness is why governments built borders and prisons and laws to protect the wealth of a few while controlling the many. And the worst part is that whiteness doesn't just exist in the past, it is alive and well today. And it shapes policing, it shapes education, healthcare, it shapes the economy, and basically every system that was never designed for us to thrive. And before you get on here screaming, not all white people, yes, individuals can act differently, but whiteness isn't about individuals. It's about the structure of power. It's why Black, Indigenous, and brown people are over-policed and over-incarcerated and under-resourced. It's why immigrant families are criminalized and deported. It's why wealth inequality is racialized. And until we name it and understand it and act against it, liberation is impossible for us. Naming it is not hate. It's actually necessary for our survival. So, what can we do about it? First, educate our communities, read books. I have 2 suggestions: How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi, or So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Olu. Use tools like racial equity tools to understand systemic oppression in policing and housing and education. Second, support Black, Indigenous, and migrant-led organizations, whether that's through volunteering, donating, or amplifying their work. Third, take action locally. Attend your city council or school board meetings. You need to know what's going on in your community. Advocate for equity-focused policies. Push for reparations or divestment from harmful institutions. And fourth, challenge whiteness in everyday spaces. Call out policies. Call out language. Behaviors that reinforce dominance. Whiteness is not abstract. It is violence. But recognizing it is the first step towards dismantling it. And dismantling it is not something that we wait for. It's something that we do together every day in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our lives. Every conversation that we have, every action that we take, every institution that we pressure to change chips away at the system. And we can do this. We must, because if we don't, freedom will never exist for us.
The concept of white supremacy affects negatively literally every single group of people, even white people. And the only way that it's been able to survive for this long is because it is such a small minority of people that actually fit into the category that it causes every single group of people, including other white people, to have to fight for that hierarchical status of being considered white. Even white people, even Europeans at some point were not considered white. So why does everybody want to be white? Why is everybody looking for proximity to whiteness, including other cultures like Asian and Hispanic cultures? Why are they always trying to identify close to white? White is the true minority.
You want to know what the most ironic part about white supremacy is? Or white supremacists? They are the most inferior, insecure, fearful, and small people. Nothing superior about them. Yet, they support white supremacy. Interesting.
This is all I got from this video, and I absolutely concur that white supremacy is nothing but white inferiority, because how, like, in the concept of racism, the concept of white supremacy, I sometimes get confused. I am not confused because I don't understand the meaning. I am confused because how do human beings come off this way? Because if you are bold, if you are courageous, why and how would you even come out to think that you are better than someone else? Because this is the mindset that I do not understand. I love what that man said, that how can a group of people who lean and chained my people come out to talk about morality, superiority, and all? Like, how? Sincerely speaking, they have the greatest and the best PR. I don't know, but we really need to see their PR on God. because it was still the same PR that they went around lying to every group, telling every group that a particular group is this, a particular group is that. And that is one of the reasons why anywhere you went to, all over the world, anything white is good, anything black color is bad. There was a video of a mixed boy. He is old enough, very old man. He was brought up in Germany, and he talked about how in his class that he was the only child that is different, mixed child, his hair and all that. And then there is this game they usually play in class and all that, where they run around and try to ask who are we, kids play. And man, sincerely speaking, there are some things that I do not wish that black kids experience. Seriously, thank God that I was brought up in the midst of black people, like people that look like me, because that was how I grew up. And we do not have this mindset of what is it called? This person is white, the other person is black, the other person is green, purple, and blue. No. That was not how I grew up. I grew up with my mates, people that look like me, that we never for a day questioned our skin tone. And nobody ever told us that, oh yeah, your skin tone is this or is the other one. It's a very huge advantage for me. Because when I see what is going on presently today and what kids have to go through, probably because they have a different shade of skin from because how are we even supposed to start questioning? Oh, okay, maybe I am going off, I don't know. And then right in front of you, the teachers are going to watch the kids play a racist game right in front of you and say, no, there is nothing wrong with it, that it is just a game the school plays and all that, when you are old enough to be sensible. Sincerely speaking, because if it is not racism, why is it that Richard got away with murder for peeping someone through the back? Anybody that if you are behind me, hope you know that you have more power than I do. I am powerless. I hope you know that. I am completely powerless. Go and ask a cop. Someone that was not facing you, there was no altercation or something, you chase the person how many yards? It is wickedness. Wickedness on the highest level. The fact that we have to teach other people American history, that is black history. Black history is American history. And if you are also Asian, black history, and you are Asian American, black history is also your history. It's just racism that is quenching everybody. It is racism. Because if it is not racism, why would I not see your history as my history? Why would a white person not see your history as their own history? Divide and in fact, like, if they are going, let it happen, because I am tired of trying to put things together and people are looking for a way to break it. As it stands, let it break. I am tired of being a peacemaker, because I haven't seen where the peace has taken anybody to at this point in time. Man, I don't know. I think each day I wake up and I am seeing the kind of racism that is all over the world. You talk about it, you speak on it, you say it the way it is. And then you think it's going to sometimes reduce, but then nothing is reducing. Now, I am going to give an analogy. Please accept this analogy in good faith. It's not like me trying to be crazy or something, but this is what comes to my mind and it makes a lot of sense, but it might not make sense to you. Let's get into it. Let's assume my dad was very educated, right? Well educated, college, everything you have to talk about. He had all that. right? But some people will be like, maybe people that were born in their own age, people that were born in the 1970 something, 60 something, do not know a lot, right? We push it aside. Let's push it aside, right? But then you find that the majority of the people that were born in the 1970s, 1960s, some of them are no longer living. Okay, let's again take it back. Let's say 1950 something. Let's say 1950 something. I don't know a lot of people that were born in the 1950 something, but I am going to assume that those ones are already old, and some of them are not really super active, right? And on social medias and in real life, people that were born in the 90s, 50 something should be like how many years old? Maybe 70 something years going to 80, if I am not mistaken. I did not do the calculation, but I am just assuming, right? Some of them have passed. Some are still alive and not completely so active. And maybe someone that is 80 years, you might not see the person having so much altercation with somebody, aside from somebody that is in the administration, part of the administration. Yes. Some of them are just calm, like, some are already going through health crisis and all that. Then we have people that are in their 60s, early 60s, late 60s, which for me, I feel like people that are in their 60s are not old. This is what I feel. You might not feel the same. And people that are 50 are not old. People that are 40 are not old. You are too young. You heard me right. If you are in your 60s, you are completely so young that you can learn, you can unlearn, you can deconstruct. There is nothing you cannot do. Right? But I am going to leave them aside. Then we move from 40 downward. A majority of you have refused to read. If you are from 40 downward to 10 years, and let me leave 10 years kids, but 10, because 10 years old kids these days are something else. But if you are from 40 down and you have refused to unlearn, relearn, deconstruct, you are part of the problem. So you see the racism I am talking about, that it is coming not even from the older people, it is coming from young people. It is coming from what? Young people. You guys can do better. Bye for now.